Bernard Vine.
Hi, Doc.
How you doing, Chief?
Doing well, yourself?
Good, 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 good. How's the baby?
Oh, he was just crying for Mama. He came out of his rocker and he was like, ow.
That's his job. That's his job.
Yep. Yeah. Well, how's everything at home for you?
Everything is fine. No problems to speak of. If there is, I'm not paying him any attention, so that's great.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Wait, Eddie, where's it at?
I'm sorry.
No, I was asking my wife where she asked me to grab her phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, I looked into, I was doing search.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was doing search for an.
You're breaking up.
Can you hear me, Doc? Can you hear me?
You're breaking up.
Am I still breaking up?
Not now. Not now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did some looking into an AI to specifically translate videos, and found a couple, and they have like the but it only takes 4 hours or so
Okay.
translating ability, but it translates the video, and not only does it translate, it takes the person out.
You're fading away.
Is it your sound drowning me out?
You hear back? I'm making a lot of noise.
Yeah, you have a background sound. I'm wondering if yours is drowning me out when I'm talking over to you.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it off. Well, I can hear you, but okay, I'll turn it off.
I don't hear anything, thank goodness. How you guys?
Hi, Shelly. Is my sound fading in and out for you, Shelly?
No, it sounds on my end, both of you sound clear.
Good.
Yeah. Bernard.
Yes.
Chime in before anybody else is on it. I don't hear any static.
Oh, good, good,
there?
good. Okay. No, it's clear. It's clear here. I was trying to get the visual back up, but I'm fine. One day society, next year's vision.
I got some CDs in the mail this week. Haven't had a chance to go through them, but I have the 69 by the Founder, one of those tapes, and I actually did get some tapes of Dr. Glenn Kinley from the 70s, so haven't had a chance to look at them, but I was wondering, you said you had the thing to make the copies of the CDs?
Yeah, I got 2 of them. I just got to locate them because I haven't seen them since we moved. My wife may be able to tell me exactly where she put them, but I bought, and they're still in a brand new box. They've never been opened.
Okay, well, look, see if you can find them. We're gonna have to set a date soon.
Okay.
So you can get copies, and or we can send out some. But I'll just bring a few. Me and Rita will come down one day.
Okay. The memorial is going to be on the 29th. I think it's the 29th of September. I was going to send the notice.
The day before, right?
It's a Monday, I think. I'm gonna send it out to you, so that they gave it to me. They didn't want it to go out because they haven't. Okay. My daughter-in-law haven't put her expert touch on on a presentation. Well, she didn't say. My children said they were trying to get her to find time to do it, where it would be presented correctly. But they gave me a copy of what they wanted to do, and I told them that you and Rita was talking about possibly coming down. But on a Monday, your child got school, so that's going to screw that up. But you're not screwed up.
No,
I
mean, she might just have to miss school that day.
And it's the directions and all that other stuff is on the draft that I have, and I'll send it to you when we finish talking.
Okay, yeah. Look, well, we can celebrate both occasions at the same time because that's the Founder's birthday the day before. After.
right, exactly. But we could like you said, meet in Cucamonga at your favorite cheesesteak factory or whatever you decide.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, if I no, I'm saying, well, if Denise's thing is going to be the 29th, or
yes.
How is it going to, what they're going to do?
They got a place that they have selected. They got a place that they have selected, and it may be in a draft that they sent to me. I'll send you a copy of it when we finish.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll plan to come wherever that is.
Okay, and I'll bring my box. I'll bring my box of DVDs and stuff with me. There's probably about 15 or 20 in that box of Glenn's lectures.
Okay.
And I have another group. I was looking for one. He did one on the charts, Shelley, that would blow your mind. I haven't been able to find it or locate it. I mean, that's all he was talking about on the charts to help people understand how to, reading the charts. Right. But I gotta find it anyway.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was
excited. I got them from Janice, which somebody made them for her.
Okay.
Before Thomas had passed, but I guess she's not using them right now, so
Very
she
good.
sent them to me.
Very good.
Yeah. So.
If I had the opportunity, I'm waiting for a couple of things to see if they come to bear. I was going to go down and spend some time with Roger to see did he get those, how many of them he had that are very clear. Because if I'm able to...
Well, well, you might want to even talk to Lewis because they have a lot, they had a library in the class, you know what I mean? So those tapes are probably stored at his place, and then the ones that Dad would have at the house, Loopy, I'm sure, took,
Well, who's handling Loopy's stuff and her crew? Richard Bailey, did he pass? Did Richard Bailey pass?
Who?
Richard.
Yeah.
So the only person left is Dale Warren and Ralph.
Right.
Would they have access to Lucas stuff?
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was there with her, you mean the longest?
No, the tapes and the stuff that she had in her possession.
Oh, sure. Richard, well, the only person that has that stuff is Eileen.
Okay.
Whatever Loopy had, I'm sure probably Eileen, I'm sure the way she was, she may not have given anything to Ginger, maybe a few things, but now, she probably kept the bulk of it, because what I understand is they were trying to charge people to listen to the tapes, which is, I thought, stupid and selfish, and where did you get that from? But I didn't say anything. Matter of fact, I just got word from Jan the other day that Ginger's, she's some kind of medical person that travels now, and so when she comes on this end, hopefully we can touch bases, or
right,
be in contact. But she would know what they got, and I know when Joyce passed, she gave Ginger her black book of the founder. She had given her that. So, but I don't think, like the tapes and all that stuff, Eileen, I'm sure, has that.
Okay.
And if they did any taping of Loopy, I'm sure she got that too. But that's not what they're putting online. From what I understand, what they're putting online are those old tapes of Dad.
Yeah. Well, I have all of the tapes that we had before when you guys were in Pasadena. What I meant to say when I say you guys, because I know that you were there with them there in Florida, and you would know better than I do.
So, look, only what I keep one in mind that I really want. I knew it was the March before he passed. He had said a lot of things, and that was right before he went in the hospital to have surgery.
Okay.
And I kind of wanted to know. I'm looking to find those March tapes.
Yeah.
Because after then, not much, but because he only. Because he was in the hospital for about, off and on for about a month before he passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and, so that just left, because he was telling everybody, that would just leave, March, April, and I think May, he was in class, but not, I don't think he was getting up there speaking because he was sick. We might have some, I don't think any in May. I think his last lectures probably were April. Because even though he was at class that Sunday before he passed, so
yeah.
But he had surgery already. He wasn't doing too good, and he had to go back in because they had botched up something with the surgery, and he had to go back up under the knife to get some kind of grate, or because his liver was damaged.
There's one that some kind of way, I think that something happened to it. An excellent tape that John Ortiz did on the names. I mean, excellent tape. I only saw it once, but I haven't been able to find it the second time. I got 2 batches of tapes. I got one with about 15 or 20 that I thought was paramount to share, and others I got them in another box. But I wanted to try to. Jonathan and I talked about having someone see. A lot of AIs are out there, but sometimes you could see that they're not. That it's not the person. It's mechanical, and the thing with AI
Right.
been doing to keep from being sued, they might show a person with 3 arms, or 1 leg missing, or something missing, to not have it complete. I guess where they can be, they wouldn't be liable to be sued or whatever. I don't know. But I wanted to do one in Spanish, one in Tagalog, and one in French, and then I think that the people on the inside of Kenya, the ones that use Yahweh's name and still practice, like a church. I've had conversation with them. I always want to go and see them because they were nice in my dialogue with them, but they didn't have nobody sitting there to keep encouraging them to understand and have them understand what's really the way that the scriptures are working.
Right.
And I thought about us going there before we get too old.
Yeah.
But we will see. But I wanted them to be able to, when they speak, their lips would move, but it would be exactly the way that the person's words coming out of their mouth, not a hesitation before or after.
I think I've seen somebody did something like that already.
They did?
Yeah, I have a few. I did the
where they was using a kid, and the kid was saying all those things. It was some kind of history thing,
Oh.
And I thought that was kind of cute, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Jonathan, you were saying something.
Yeah, I found a few services for it.
You did?
Yeah. Except I've just been trying to find a good one because most of them, the way they're making their money is they limit the amount of time, like 4 hours worth of translation for like a year subscription type of deal.
Okay. But I want to do the movie, but I was going to tie that into communications. I use that word plural because it could be advertised by radio or whatever, that our movie would be be online, and determine what line am I talking about. Am I talking about a television station, and how much that would cost and stuff like that. So, but I want to know if how much it would cost to do the voiceovers and the AI type stuff, and then I would go into how much it would cost to do maybe 2 or 3 major cities in the Philippines, and maybe 2 or 3 places in Africa, and then Spain and Mexico, maybe about 5 or 6 different places.
Well, how long's the movie?
It's pretty long. It looks like it's about an hour and maybe 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half.
Oh, see, I'm gonna pull it back. That's the darn thing.
Well, let me say this, Jonathan, first. One of the sections that in the tape where Jason brought out about Lot and his daughters being sexually involved, and he wanted that out because I had accused him of being that type of person that his mind would go there versus going someplace else. I'm not badmouth. I'm not trying to badmouth him. I'm just telling you what I went through. And he wanted that taken out before it went to the whole world. I said, yeah, a nasty mind. It needs to go to the whole world. Let him see what kind of jerk you are. But anyway, that wasn't my business to hold him back for whatever you want to do. But I'm just saying, he wanted that out of there. And I agree, because we didn't want to have any interference with another man's mind while he's still in the church world. He got to digest that and go through that. But if we're able to get him to understand our basics, then he could accept and understand what that meant, but not before then.
Yeah.
And his feelings wouldn't be hurt if we took it out because he wanted it out. He didn't want the movie to go out after he did it. Didn't want the movie to go out with that in it. But anyway, and when I said the movie is because it was extremely well presented, and even Glenn's tape, 2 tapes that was well, a lot of them were dynamite, but 2 tapes where he got way down to teach was that movie, and also the what is it, Shelley, the gathering in Ohio. What do you guys call it? Shelley, you there? I forgot what they call it. They got
General Assembly.
Assembly, yeah. That the first one he did, where the other teachers were there, and that must have been the first one that they had. That one is the time that he spent there. They are very, very, very good. But anyway, and that's what I was hoping that I could get done. But I'm trying to master the method of how to get it out once we have it done and stuff like that. But and how much it's going to cost and where the money is going to come from.
Right.
Because you could in California there were a lot of Spanish speaking ministers that's been accused of molestation and everything else, but they got huge crowds following them. Like,
Right.
I mean, here in California, but our movie would be nobody following our man because he's not around. But we want you to listen to the words that he's saying, and you can't accuse him of that. And I feel bad that I can't do nothing about that. The group that's doing that stuff to Dr. Kinley. I mean, they got him riding a bicycle, got him doing in a boat. I mean, all kind of stupid mess. And those fools down there are just letting it happen.
Really?
Yeah. Got him talking. So one of them outright accused him of lying. Right.
Well,
Well, look, like Dad said with Tupac, that's a rap you're going to have to pay for.
right. I'd like to shove it right in their face, right in their face, and call them from behind the wall that they're hiding.
That stuff, they can come up with anything. That's why I said now, it's so crazy. I don't believe nothing they put on TV because now with IA, they accuse you of everything.
Yeah, right.
And then turn around and say they got proof. But what proof is it? When you can do what you wanted to do.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's just, as that was pure evil.
That's about the size of it. That's about the size of it. And I knew that because the people that was doing that knew too much. And I was telling Jonathan, that person was inside the body down there at headquarters.
Yeah, they're various members of LA, Chicago, prior.
We lost you, Jonathan.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah, I said they're LA members, Chicago branch members, and a few Pasadena members.
So, what was the last one? What was the last one?
Pasadena.
You're kidding.
No.
You're kidding.
Nope.
What was that?
He was identifying the places where the bad information was coming from, and he said Pasadena was one of them. But I just couldn't imagine anybody that I remember in my whole time there that had that anger in them about that. I mean, I didn't see it.
Yeah, there was one person that was on their thing talking about how Gary Cooper. They witnessed their parents calling dad and all this other stuff. Yeah.
Well, those are younger people. Oh, okay. That's right. Okay. You know, the funny part about it, Jonathan, he never demanded them to do that. They took that up on their own. On their own. Brother.
Exactly. And you know what? The only ones would say that would be those so-called privileged kids.
Yeah, that might be. You might be right about that, Shelley, because I think that's part of the bad functioning with them now. You know.
Right. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
And they're still not grown enough to admit what you went there for and what the truth was. You know.
Right.
That angers me more than anything when people start talking about the class, because it's kind of like, irregardless how you got there, what did you go there for, and what did you learn, and what you learned, did that have anything to do with the doctrine?
Right,
you know?
right.
I mean, did what you learned from this gospel didn't cause you to do anything perverted?
Right.
You know, that was of your own thinking and doing. If you did anything or somebody did something to you, that didn't have nothing to do with what you were taught.
Right.
And you know, I heard from somebody, Doc, somebody in Ontario class, was from Pasadena, because you know Joe was from Pasadena and he started Ontario, so there was a few other people from Pasadena and Ontario. Somebody there, I guess.
Losing you. We don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yes.
Tell the baby not to touch the wire.
I'm telling. So there was somebody in Ontario. You know how Ontario is from, started from those from Pasadena with Joe and whatnot. Well, somebody in Ontario was claiming to have been the president of Pasadena and have been the one who started the class and all the paperwork. And I'm like, I don't know how that's possible when Dr. Vine is the one who did all the paperwork to get the class, its identity and all that. But somebody named Reggie.
Don't know him.
Yeah.
And then the thing is this, that when they left, Shelley could tell you, there was Tyrone Horn and Joe Williams. They're the ones that left and started Ontario. There was nobody. There was a couple other people, not from our school, that they wind up having regular classes with. Because most of the people that are there now, I only knew them from.
It was Tyrone, Joe, Noreen, Dion.
Yes.
And I think those were the four, adults, besides Tyrone and his wife, that left from Pasadena and went down there to open that class. But I don't remember any other adults that followed them, even though at that time I think Les and his family stopped coming to class, and then Gloria stopped, and Dad was upset about that. Her, because I don't know what they had said to her, but that upset him. And then whoever else, but I think as far as starting Ontario, those were the ones that followed him from Pasadena, was Noreen and Dion, and that was because they were friends, and Dion was after Joe, knowing them.
I asked Horn one day. I said, what about all of these rumors that I'm hearing about your class? I said, what made you leave the group? He said, well, the man was trying to be attached to every woman that came in the class, and I wasn't for that. I said, okay.
Yeah, that was, now
and they called. What was actually his? Oh, okay. Tyrone, he had an issue with, wasn't it with Eve? Yeah, with he had an issue with something in the garden, and then Joe had an issue thinking that the creation wasn't going out. With, I mean, I told him even if it didn't, you ain't gonna be here to witness it. You know. Right. And then he kind of shut up, and I mean, I'm sure he now realizes, or then before his time came, I'm sure he probably reflected on that very conversation we had, because that's how Yahweh do. You know, right. You getting ready to leave here, and you left there thinking that it ain't going out, but you going out.
And they gave a lot of power to the guy that's dead now. What is his name? He's
that boring guy that was married to the Asian lady.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was so freaking boring.
He wasn't. You know, they didn't give him that power until the latter days, because he did most of the teaching, because he had a memory about remember numbers and a whole lot of. But none of that means crap. If it's not real with you, nobody gonna understand it.
Will Williams.
Yeah, and he reads out of that Elohim book, but it's like you don't understand you. How the hell are you gonna cause somebody to understand what the founder wrote in that Elohim book?
And he talked like he walked.
You have yet to even see how you are Yahweh. Right. With all your knowledge, you don't see it, and I know you don't see it because I know who I am. You know, and when you know who you are, you know who else knows who they are.
The last time we attended, and he asked me to speak. Well, they asked me to come down there for something else. They wanted to know what did I do with the class that they could save their own butt with the headquarters school. I told them what the founder said. The founder said that these schools were supposed to be independent. That if something happened in your school, it didn't affect the next school. I said, and that's what Glenn did. He didn't do it out of hatred or nothing else. He just said they were supposed to be independent.
Yeah, Joe come calling me. Joe called me and asked me, and I told him, call Renard. He's the one that did the legwork for Pasadena. And he was like, oh. I was like, yeah. I said, he did. You know, I can be a ball of knowledge. I can tell you how to go. You know?
Yeah, I believe Ontario separated from IDMO.
They did?
Yeah, they did.
They call it Archetype Pattern Workshop. And see, while they were still IDMR the last up the year before last, and at the time Will had separated from them.
The way Joe Williams talked, they wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, well, Will separated. And then Will started his own thing, and then Ontario separated from IDMR, and now Will's back over there.
Well, I think they probably didn't have a choice, because it's like they didn't want to be dictated to. Yeah. You know, and that was one part of why they left Pasadena, because they was jealous of Dr. Glenn Kelly. But it had you understood who you were, what is it to be jealous of?
You know the funny part about it, Shelley? You know the funny part about it? Jonathan, there was a man in our class, and they were there during this time, that came from like further down the road, like Rancho Cucamonga, which is further in going toward San Bernardino, or in San Bernardino. And Glenn told him on a Friday night, I remember because I heard him. He told him, man, you know, I kind of suggest that you don't, you know, I think you should stay here in town. And the man didn't listen, and then he disappeared. And then we found out that he robbed this filling station that night that he went down there and went to jail. If I was and Glenn warned him, but Glenn, I would say he's not supposed to. He's not trying to tell you what to do and what not to, but he may give you a hint. I was there when he gave him the hint, and our class was there. But anyway, he wound up going to jail. And Joe Williams' wife hounded me to death. I just got out of the hospital for lancing a infection in my throat, and they came to my house, and they told me, says, Renard, we want to, you should have. That's his wife talking to me. You should probably let what she called him, Rick or Skip or something like that. Rick. She said you should let him be the last speaker. I said,
no, that was Tyrone, Renard. Tyrone's wife.
Tyrone's wife. Yeah. And I said I can't dictate to the moderator what to do. The moderator, if you want to talk, you tell the moderator. The moderator decide whether he's gonna call you or not. That's not my job. They didn't take it too well. Well, she didn't take it too well, but he was after me to save time for him to speak at every class. That's not my duty to do that. I'm not in charge there. I'm trying to give it up if I could. I said the only reason why I want to give it up is because I don't need to be somebody that don't have to tell me that they're Yahweh too. I already know what they are. But anyway, that's what she was hounding me about that. You should let Rick be the last speaker, like Glenn was the last speaker. I said that's the difference between Rick and Glenn. I said Rick is learning. Glenn was what he was telling us. Exactly what he was telling us. That's what he was.
And he didn't ask to be the last speaker. That was done by choice of the class. Because after everybody else said what they had to say, you wanted to know what else did Yahweh have for you to know.
Right, exactly.
But look, I'll never forget the time when Tracy moderated and she said, does anybody have anything to say? And nobody said nothing, and she closed class. I thought that was just too funny.
It's like Glenn telling the founder. It's like the founder telling Glenn. Glenn telling the founder, says, You're not paying attention. Don't you know that they're trying to retire you? Retire me? What do you mean retire me? I'm gonna get this straight. That's what he said. I'm gonna get this straight.
Right.
But anyway.
That was kind of funny, but we had a ball in class. We had our good days and we had our bad.
Right.
And the bad was if you was your turn to get chastised. Right, and it was good. It was bad and good if you could accept it,
Right.
But I wouldn't trade it for nothing. Because to me, those were the most valuable days of my life here.
And see, the thing is, when I told Jonathan, Jonathan, and I may have told Teresa also, I said, other than Shelley's son and maybe one of the Lloyds and maybe one other person down there that you can rely on that will deal with you fairly, I wouldn't tell you to go there. But I told Jonathan I felt bad the way they spoke to him because it was a bad reflection on all of us that were there before. And it shouldn't be that way, but that's what the kids are taught. They're taught they don't give a shit. They have no respect for nobody other than their own themselves. And then they're gonna use book learning to try to tell you how it go. And it came from the mother and father. The father wasn't as nasty. Maybe he is now, but he didn't know nothing when he was there. He was just learning.
Yeah, and that was it's basically the mom. But they owe me because I had to encourage John to even go back. After they had closed the door, he stopped going. And before I left Florida, I was working on him. And after I gone, I told him, you don't want to let what Yahweh gave you be in vain. And the people need help, And that's why he's there now, because he, as long as I was there at one time, right after Dad passed, no, it wasn't after he passed, it was after they closed the building down. He didn't go back, And I got him to go back because I feel like we owe the old man to continue in what he taught us,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt that same way with the founder. You know, that was why I kept going to 1040 until I was able to get to Pasadena.
Right. I'll give you an example what made me stay in class. You know, I always, didn't want to. I wanted to go, but I didn't want them to eat up all of my time. Right. Anyway, there was always, Glenn and I had an agreement that he didn't have to make any tapes, that I'd make him a copy, and I'd get the tapes as soon as the class was over. I'd get the tape and I'd make a copy. He used to get mad about me standing right there with my hand out. Right. I didn't ever tell him that he told me to do that, but I used to make the tapes for him and make a copy that I had in the library. And I remember somebody gave me a written document, and this is what Yahweh did to me, Shelley. So how I got stuck. They gave me this document, and I was reading the document, and Yahweh made me sit in the body, listen to what's being said, and understand the deception that was going on out of their mouth. And I said, damn, how could they be calling, because at that time the people was calling God in the body. I said, how could they be talking about God in the body, and they're trying to dictate to him what they feel. Right. He gave them assignments because he wanted the school to be involved, so that they didn't feel as though that he was all the power that was there, that the power was in them also, but not, he didn't, he wasn't pushing them around. So right. he gave them duties to do, and they tried to dissect what they understood, dissect it, and give written results about what they understood, about how to officiate, how to present, and how the school should be run, all of that stuff.
Marvin?
And when he got time to read it, Shelley, he was throwing it in the trash. Every time they gave me okay, threw it in the trash. And they mumbled about it. They mumbled about it. They got mad. I said, God damn, how could they went there to learn. How could you get mad with the teacher? And the man, you don't know crap, and he's telling you, and you're mad because you throw if he puts your stuff in, it's not going to go the way it's supposed to go. But anyway, I said, whoa, Jack, what happened to me? And that recognized that Yahweh had showed that to me for a reason, that you don't outgrow this doctrine. You can't. It's too endless. It's forever. And it goes on and on and on, and then you learn something new every time you have an opportunity. Yeah. Right. And then I had a spot. I'm not very swift at remembering all that I heard. Like Jonathan got one of those minds that if they leave out of IT, he can tell you what page they did it on. But anyway, I remember Glenn saying like this. He said, you don't have to wrestle with things you don't understand when you're trying to defend this gospel and present it to another man. Yahweh will be with you. And I remember that happened when I went through divorce. I started saying things that Yahweh said, look, I don't want to lie in here. All I'm trying to do is do what's fair and do what's right, and make sure that I'm not the one that they kicking in the butt, because they're trying to, and I keep laughing in their face, and lawyers and everybody else. I said, I'm defending myself, and I don't have a lawyer. But anyway, stuff was coming out of my mouth. I said, brother, I forgot all about that. Right? Different things that went on. But anyway, that's what made me understand that this is where I'm supposed to be, and how I'm supposed to act, and how to try to give it to another person as much as I can. So I'm here, and whatever we do, I'm in favor of it. That's positive anyway.
Right. I was
So Jonathan, everybody could know, nobody was able to whip Glenn Kinley and the people he taught. Nobody. Now I'm not telling you they all came out clean, because a lot of them still dirty. But I see him walking. I said, how could you be doing that? I don't understand. And then he said if he took the body off, you got to remember your responsibility and who you are. And a lot of them think nobody looking, so they say whatever the hell they please. Right.
Well, you know, that's why I told a friend that I have from Ontario class, because he proclaims Ontario. I said, you know why Ontario seems so separate from all the other classes? It's because it was started by people from Pasadena who learned from Glenn. I said, don't you realize why you guys don't have speaker committees where you call on people from in the body and you let people come up? Is because the people who started your class learned that from Glenn. That was the class. That was how the class they came from was modeled.
Right.
And you think it's all different and whatnot, but not realizing it came from Glenn. And here you are trying to talk about Glenn. Yet the reason you think you're so separate is because of you're holding the things that he was teaching to his students who started that class.
Yeah, you know what? Someone's on my heart and mind today. As I listened to one of the, I think the dad was one of the lectures. But anyway, we were talking about that sacrificial body, you know, and you know, it just dawned on me, like, when we say we're all were conceived by immaculate conception,
Right.
And that, which makes us all really sacrificial bodies, because you're fitted. I mean, may not be all the way Joshua had to be, but you had to be prepared to be able to endure this doctrine and walk this, you know, in this body. And when it was saying that when he got to the part where he talks about Joshua, because I ran across the tape where he proves the 2,300 days, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of the disputes there in Florida. I'm going to stop saying Pasadena. Over in Florida, Daytona, where they were saying, where it was said by a couple of the speakers that you could improve the 2,300 days. So, but then he went into explaining how when Joshua gave up the ghost and how it went dark from that third hour of the day, you know. It was on our time would be 3 o'clock. Okay, so when he gave up the ghost and it went dark, you know, and I'm saying, don't you, and Yahweh bring it to my attention, when I take the body you got on off, it goes dark and heaven and earth passes away. And I just thought, I mean, just things you never think about, but when Yahweh brought that to my attention today, it was so funny, because if you're in a position now where you experience heaven on earth, and that's what we do now, you're able to experience heaven on earth. But that heaven and earth passes away. You know, so you're no different from what Joshua, you know, did. And I mean, that was going on in my head today, and I just kept laughing. I'm like, Yahweh, you know, you are just too much.
Shelly,
I never thought about that, huh?
Shelly, so you remember in Ohio, that first day when we were leaving the Cleveland class and we was going back to the hotel and everything, right? And in the car where I was telling Jan and David and Gary, understand that.
Can't hear you, Jonathan.
You're breaking up. Yeah, something.
Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Yeah.
That when we were in the car, and I was
now you.
That the name of the sacrificial body was a man. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, now I can.
Doc, it is the background noise. It's drowning out when it's coming through on others. So I just mute in and mute out. But when we were in the car coming back from the Cleveland, Ohio class, and we were headed to the hotel, and we're in the car before we got to the gas station, I was telling everybody in the car that it's important to give that understanding of the name of the sacrificial body being Emmanuel. Exactly what you just said is why I said that's important. Because when they understand that the name of the body was named Emmanuel, then you can understand the name of the body being Shelley, Jonathan, Teresa, Gary, Dr. Bernard Vine. You can understand that the body you hold is a prepared sacrificial body.
Yes.
Taken upon himself. When you can understand that the Messiah was under the name of just like every other man has a name, and it's not Joshua, no one knew he was Joshua, then that gives that's where that seed that bears the fruit of the understanding that you are walking around in a prepared sacrificial body, being that you are Elohim in a coat of flesh.
Yep, and I mean, when I just looked at that today, as I was listening to his tape, it was just so funny because it's like, it's so true, and that you, as long as you breathe, you praise that name, Yahweh, that's your prayer without ceasing. And then when he takes that body off, that's heaven and earth passing away, you know. Yep. And you are prepared. You know, look, you can't take it off without him, you know what I mean? He has to give the signal, the word, the timing of what was prepared for it to exit out that body. And even in the scriptures when it said, like the prophet where he said to Yahweh, just so you know, I've been with you all the days of my life, and then he was added the extra 15 years. That prayer was already prayed before the creation was manifested. That's why those 15 years was added, because Yahweh ain't changing nothing down here now. Yep. All things have already been declared and purposed. Even the prayers we prayed have already been prayed, or the founder wouldn't have been able to say he saw the prayers. He heard the prayers, you know, when he was in that state, because he hadn't even gotten here yet, you know, being in that state, you know, and then afterwards being taken back, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Is awesome.
It's Yahweh offering up the prayers.
Exactly. I mean, you know, it's just his purpose, everything. As that would say, the fight is over before she begun. Because once he put on that body, it was done, sealed up, you know. And I mean that body of Elohim, you know, not waiting for your natural body. No, it was already done and complete. Even though he slowed it down for Moses to be able to see how he brought it in, to be able to pen what he penned, and John to pen what he penned, and the founder penned what he penned. And whatever we write was already declared, you know, and not separating, because there are those of us that what writings will linger on for that next creation to come forth. You know, so we want to kind of remember and know what the apostles didn't know when they were writing what they write. So to add more clarity, you know, they just was writing to one another, not knowing here, 2,000 years down the line, we'd be picking it up and reading it. Or what was ever in the Old Testament, you know. But, yeah, so I try to write with clarity.
That's how I look at a lot of what goes on, like with the class and a lot of other things. It's just like how you're watching a movie, and even though you haven't seen the end, it's already written, and you can see what's already happening by what's happening. The same way, it's like if you look at how the apostles were writing, like you're saying, they were writing they're letters of admonition and correction amongst, the ones left in charge of the various assemblies and whatnot. But when they're writing, they're not writing with the mind of, 2,000 years later, someone's going to be reading this. And it's like, now evaluate the things happening today. As if those, because we've been told, those to come will be reading about those now, so it's like, read the book while it's writing type of thing.
Well, and we're doing both now because we're passing it on mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and we're writing. Whereas at one time, they were just passing it along by voice of telling. And then Moses come along and dictated for the scribes to write, And so, hey, now we're doing, both. I mean, because we have those writings Dr. Kinley left behind, and the corrections that he made, and the founder, and hope that you're reading with that same inspiration of the same Elohim, and to understand it. Not that there's a different Elohim, there's only one. You know what I mean? But let's say, hi, Teresa. She muted out.
I was out with family and currently traveling. So, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing well.
Great.
You traveling from Daytona?
Oh no, I was out with my daughter today and my father, and
okay, that's
just
nice.
Now headed to Tampa, back to where I live. It's about a 45-minute drive, so just headed back.
Lovely.
Yes.
Were you tuned in today, Jonathan? With are they?
Yeah.
With oh.
Yeah. Let's tune in today.
You know what? Why do they put love before beauty in the attributes? What is that? How Glenn taught it? Because they said that Glenn taught that there is a pattern and that it does go in a prescribed way, but they always put love before beauty. So
they read it in the cloud when it's not in form. That's one of the few, I don't like to say contentions, but learning lessons to be had.
It's because they're being hard-headed. Because they don't like the fact that I told them, and then he's not here to retell them again, and you want to think that you're justified. You're not freaking justified in doing that because, yeah, Dad and Rachel put those attributes there, but at the time, before they did that, all those years when they were preaching that class, when they got to that Elohistic form, they said those attributes in order because you want to be forming that inner man at that time in the man. It must be organized, and that's how you want. You're not talking abstract. And when he put that body on, that's what formed or gave limits and bounds and formity and organization to everything. So don't be going up in there where those angels are disembodied, trying to resurrect the Elohim that's already resurrected.
Well,
you better.
I was.
Because they said Glenn said it that way, and
no,
that's what I kind of heard. People were like, "That's how he taught it, so that's how we're going to say it." So that's why I was questioning, like,
no, and that's not it. And if he taught it that way, or even said it that way, he definitely got on the floor and instructed them to say those attributes in order, the way they were written. But see, that's just being willful ignorant. Willful disobedient, doing it that way.
I was going over this earlier within myself, and what I was shown with this was the only thing that, like, with all the angels, all the angels look the same. All the angels are the same. The only thing that differentiates an angel from another is in duty and in position. And if you understand that the attributes are angels, having them in their correct position, performing their correct duty.
Jonathan, let me correct you right there, because I made that mistake once before, saying that words were angels. And he said, no, words are words. He said, now, those attributes, there were angels that had the name of those attributes. But those attributes are not angels. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
like you name your kid, you can name your kid intelligent, but that's Yahweh alone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the thing about it is those angels that were gathered up in Elohim. But don't be pointing over there to the cloud, because them angels don't have no body on.
And
like
this
that.
Is why,
and I have to say it that way. Look, I have to say it that way because they've lost sight of the fact that the attributes took up set position, or they was given a set position in that so-called Elohistic form, right? As far as a learning pattern go, because we know even in our own bodies, you can't separate. You got all those 9 major attributes in the system of the heart working. You know, you got them all working in the bottom of your foot. There is a blend. You can't separate it. You can't separate source and substance from itself, or how I say it like that. But where Elohim put on that shape and form in that cloud, that is where everything was organized. Now, I don't see nobody jumping over there down there where he erased Nebuchadnezzar and still trying to teach that. But you run over there and keep on saying those attributes out of organization after you've been told how to do it and why. Because when you say them in the organized way, that means that you're forming that Elohim in the man.
Right.
And that way that he can understand what you're saying, and not that Elohim is not formed, because the truth is in you no matter what, and it's always. But that was the principle of how it's taught, because you want to see him taking on shape and form right within you, so that old man is diminished, where you don't think like you used to think. You want to be that one that's in harmony with himself in everybody.
Right.
Did I make myself clear on that?
Yep. Shelley, you're absolutely correct, because 2 days ago I was listening to a tape, and I remember when Rachel came down, but I don't remember that thing about the charts, her teaching about the chart. But Glenn stated that Rachel had did something, but not on purpose, but she had did something, and then they had to correct that, and put that right in the charts, because one of the charts had left out something, one of the positions. He said, and if you don't have it correct, you can't form the man in you to understand. That's what he said.
I was even in the corner class last Sunday, and I got on the floor, and I got up there and taught, it's intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, beauty, love, justice, foundation, power, strength, and I went how it goes with all the organs, and beauty goes with that intersection, with the altar incense. If we breathe His name, it goes with breath. So it does. It lines right up, and that's why I can't dispute this gospel, because it does all go according to that pattern, and it all fits so tightly that there's no escaping it.
Yeah, and maybe the way I started expressing it, because I wasn't trying to say that Like this angel love, this angel beauty, this like that's not. It was it was being shown through the angels and their set positions and their duties, which differentiate them. Because as we show, all 9 attributes can be found within every attribute. Because it's a unity through and through.
Right.
And that's the same with the angels. Every angel is fully Yahweh Elohim, just in a set position and duty. And that's the same thing with the attributes. Each one is within a set position performing a specific duty, even though we can find every single one within itself. That's more what I was getting at.
Well, yeah, and then even with those 9, they have branches, like you have love, and that's kindness, and that strength is endurance. You know, they all have other linking attributes, but those are the parent of the extensions. We'll say that way. You know, but
if you notice too, Teresa, when the attributes are being shown like that, pointing at the cloud, if you notice, the pointer has to stutter. It's like you're going in a specific pattern, and then to do it, it's like you have to stutter your pointer to do it that way.
Yeah, I've noticed that how it's written on the chart. I see what you're saying. It's kind of.
But if they went right there to that Elohim form, they're written right there exactly the way Yahweh had it taught. And I remember when we first when I first was attending classes in Pasadena, that chart over there right after where you have, I guess it's right up above, kind of like where you see John on the Isle of Patmos, and it's more or less whited out now. That used to be Nebuchadnezzar was there, and John speaks of that beastly figure was drawn on that chart when we were and before we left Washington. Dad had that whited out, and he also had that on the name chart. He had them get rid of that Lord God and Jesus Christ. And so and then he made the chart where you push it, and then it flips down the Father, the Word, the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? The Word or Son, the Holy Spirit, and it's like that. But I remember those because he had said it was no need to have that Nebuchadnezzar image on there, and you probably could find it in a book on some other chart. But when that chart was first made, it had right there at the right up above, going all the way to the end, was that form of Nebuchadnezzar, and then it had all that other stuff that pertained to that written in it, and he just blotted it out. See, but a lot of them there now, they don't know nothing about that. You remember it, Renard?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because you were even there in Pasadena before I got over there, so I know you would remember what that chart looked like. But
no, you're absolutely correct, Shelley. You're absolutely correct.
So, yeah, that it kind of upsets me sometimes when I hear that, because they know better, and they don't. It's kind of like it hasn't sunk in the fact that you're talking to Elohim in the man, not just saying something. You got to make sure that everything is upright, and organized in you, because how you gonna present it as Yahweh gave it to you if it's not upright in you?
See, some of them are still part of that group that remind me of being cast out. But anyway, part of that group that couldn't understand or accused Glenn of something else, or they couldn't believe that he gave it to them correctly about the 3 days and the 3 nights. So they're still lingering around it.
Well, yeah, even if they especially if they have the audacity to ask him, did Yahweh tell you to go to Florida?
Right.
Well, I think that's what, like, we're going through this journey individually, and I noticed that even with the classes that I got brought up with, it's like people are able to get up and preach that chart off of what they hear and just go with it. They don't do their own research and study, and that's where it becomes founded in your stability, you know, and your faith and everything, is because it becomes a part of you. So if you, like, you're not doing that own research and making this, I mean, every day, you know what I'm saying? But that's good. I want to, you know. But it's, what was I going with this? Just because people get up on the floor and they're preaching, it has to be in you. Like, it has to have that understanding. You know, it's not. I know it's in everybody, but until that understanding it comes on like a light bulb, and you know, it does, like, we're getting this piecemeal. You know what I'm saying? We're getting this little by little. So as the more we learn, and you know, we just hope and you know that we keep learning and coming to understanding.
It's like this week I talked to Jan, and we were talking about that 5-sided, you know, that altar of incense being 5-sided, and he was saying, like, a couple of the younger ones that was there in Daytona was getting up preaching, saying it was 5-sided, and one thought it was shaped like an octagon and said that they didn't understand, and then one just said it but didn't know it. And see, you want to know those things. You don't want to have your tail in the open outside somewhere, and that's why they need to be reiterated and taught correctly and expounded on. Because I was taught, don't get up there and teach nothing you can't prove. No way in hell I'd have said it was 5-sided if I couldn't prove it. You know, and that's what we were warned. Do not teach nothing you cannot prove, that you do not know, direct from Yahweh. You know, and but I mean, it was a blessing that when they were asked about it, that person, well, it was John, was able to explain to them and say why. No, it wasn't shaped like an octagon, because if you'd have said that, somebody went right to the scripture, right where Yahweh told them how to build that ark of the incense, and they wouldn't have saw no octagon instruction there. You know? And then that would have made, like Renard always says, everything you taught a lie to me now.
Yeah,
you know?
No, it says 4 corners, 4 horns.
Yeah, it does. Just like
a pentagon. Yeah. A pentagon ain't got no 4 corners.
But
Yeah.
if you think about it, the mercy seat would be 5-sided too, because that had it inside.
Yeah, it did, because that's where the Aaron's rod. Well, look, we say Aaron's rod that budded, but that was actually Moses' rod, because Aaron wasn't no shepherd. Okay, Moses was the shepherd.
Tell me what this is. Aaron's rod and Moses' rod the same thing? Everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, but it wasn't Aaron's rod. Aaron was holding the rod, and Moses took it from him. But it was Moses was the shepherd when they were in front of the Pharaoh. I mean, what was it? Was in front of, was it the? Yeah, Pharaoh, right?
They were interchanging with the rod. Like, they kept saying Moses'
well, see,
rod, Aaron's rod.
Oh, but you know it was Moses' rod. Why? Because where was he when he was at the burning bush? He was out there doing what? Watching over watching over those sheep. Mm-hmm. Go put down. Yeah, he was out there watching over. What was that? The high priest. Out there. Oh my gosh, what was we say? The high priest that he was king and high priest. Yeah, he was watching over those sheep out there. You know, when he had come up out of Egypt.
Oh, Ruel sheep.
Yeah, Ruel. Yeah, yep. Ruel. And the daughters, but he was a shepherd. Aaron wasn't no shepherd. That's not what he was doing down there in Egypt.
Yeah, when they offer up the rods before Yahweh, one for each, the head of each tribe. When it's offered up for Levi, Moses' rod is given as Aaron's rod, though Aaron is like, the
But
elder.
we're talking about when they was down there with those two, where they threw down their canes and they turned into serpents.
When the rod is added to the covenant, there's where it's the rod that budded, where it talks about him bringing forth the rods, and that's where you see Moses' rod start being called Aaron's rod.
Okay, but it was the same. But it was that same rod that swallowed up those other two serpents.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Down there.
And that's the rod that was placed in Aaron's hand, was the pattern, being the high priest in the tabernacle.
And so and you had Aaron's rod that budded. You had the book of Asher, which Moses wrote, and the law, which was placed in there. Yeah.
Plus Moses' rod was the one that part the Red Sea when he had it in his hand.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's why I sent that text message with the Bible verse, because I was reading to the kids and we're going over the tabernacle, and I was showing them how the tabernacle is going to the body, because we're going through all of Exodus. They were so excited to learn about the semicolon in Exodus 24. They were so excited. They were like, "Oh my goodness!" Because I was like, "Yeah, you get to know the extra information what goes." And I went from right there in Exodus 24, and we picked it up in Genesis 1, and we read Genesis chapter 1, and then we came back to Exodus 24. I was like, "See, that's like, oh my goodness."
And that's good for them to be familiar with it and you're reading it to them at home, because some of those kids in class didn't get that. Like after class is over, they weren't going home reading the Bible.
No, and then when we were reading it and we came across the instructions for the altar incense, and when I read, "Thou shalt make it hollow or with boards hollow on the inside," I was like, "Oh, there's that fifth side."
Yes, right.
Because I've never heard a Bible verse be given to show that the inside was there. And I was like, "Look, right there it is." I was like, right at the construction of it.
And it's really pretty. The lungs, our lungs are 5. Like there's 3 on, like the lobes, there's 3 on one side and 2 on the other, making it 5. It's so beautiful how all this fits. Like even with all the stuff that was in the Ark of the Covenant, like everything that was in there are physical, medical things that go right along with all that stuff. It's beautiful.
Right, wonderfully art thou made.
Yes. Wait. Hey, I got a question. So, is it 4-sided altar incense, or now it's 5-sided? Because there's only 4 horns on the altar.
Yeah, the fifth side is the inside, Gary. It had a chamber inside where the garments of beauty and glory were kept.
And he would go into the side of it to pull that out. That the opening was in the side, because remember there was things that sat on top. But remember, the woman come out of the side of the man. That beauty, that glory of Yahweh.
Well, anatomically, Teresa's right. We have 3 lobes on one side and 2 on the other.
Huh?
I said Teresa was, how can I say this? She was anatomically correct. We have 5 lobes, 3 on one side and 2 on another. I just never had thought about, because I'm listening to history I never heard about Glenn. I had a lot of Dr. Kinley, all his tapes at one time, but never really heard any history about Glenn except in passing about him teaching with the founder had taught, or his dad had taught. So listening to that to me is valuable. I just never heard it, but now I'm hearing for the first time that the 5 sides to the altar incense, because I've always been taught 4. So
it is a square. It's a square with inside of it.
Hey, Gary, just think of it as a shoebox. When you buy a pair of shoes, you take the lid off, right?
Yeah.
And the shoes are inside. Whereas with that, it was square, but the opening was on the side.
I get it now, because if it was a shoebox with no bottom in it, it would just still be it'd be a 4 square configuration.
Yeah,
but with that bottom in there, it's still another position to the 4-sided.
Well, I use a shoebox as an example, but I'm saying because on a shoebox you would just lift the top up. But that altar of incense, they didn't lift the top up. It was a tabletop but the side, it was a door in the side of it, where the high priest would take those things out, because he had eating utensils as well that was there. You know that what he goes right.
Mm-hmm.
And on the table of showbread, all the cups, the bowls, and everything like that was on the table of shewbread.
Right.
Right.
Well, I don't know why. I know why I haven't, conceived that, but that was a revelation. So thank you. That was an instant revelation.
Yeah. Look, and we talk about that. You mentioned that 5. Well, that's those 2 faithful witnesses, and then the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. These 3 are one. That's that supernal nature of Yahweh, and the fact that it was Pentecost where everything took flight. That's
right.
it.
I get it. Thank you. Yeah, that links up. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about. I was going that over in my head before class earlier too, with how the 5-sidedness showing forth Pentecost, the taking flight, and then showing that resurrection, that sweet savory incense up to Yahweh from that sacrifice. Yeah. And the 5 matches all the way around in not just the configuration of the vessel, but in its duty and principle.
Okay,
yeah.
Another question. When you talk about the attributes of Yahweh Elohim, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, because the attributes, he's those attributes. I don't want to put this: intelligence, wisdom, and knowledge. So it should have been beauty, love, and justice, not love, beauty, and justice, right?
Huh?
Should have been beauty, love, and
correct.
justice. So,
yes, beauty, love, justice.
Okay, and then when you talk about the Elohim, and then we say the righteousness, or you talk about 9, but don't forget what is it? Righteousness, peace, and delight. That's where you get your 12.
Oh.
Yeah,
so
the 12, because that's why you got the 12 tribes. Yeah, it's all right. You got to have it all. You don't just stop with 9.
You'll find that
righteousness, peace, and delight. And we say delight because in the scripture it says, I was daily his delight. And he was the righteousness of Yahweh.
And righteousness is the same as
he
kingdom.
is peace. Then we say he's the Prince of Peace.
Yeah.
And the attribute righteousness is the same as the attribute kingdom.
Yes.
The kingdom and righteousness.
So where would that be? On
the chart. No, on the chart where you see Elohim standing, and you have 9 attributes in his body. The cloud under his feet, it says kingdom. That makes that 10. And then if you look in the textbook, in a couple of the lists of the attributes, when the founder's listing them out, he does put righteousness, peace, and joy in those attribute lists, showing that they're part of the attribute list. Now, when you see it all together, you know that the unity of the 9 major attributes is what produces that kingdom. And in that kingdom is that peace and delight. That's the product of that that kingdom.
Well, we want to say that's the makeup, the description. It doesn't of that kingdom. It's the description of it. It doesn't make the kingdom up because that's Yahweh is the kingdom. but he gave you a description, which are those attributes. So you have the 9 major attributes, and you got righteousness, peace, and delight. And when we trade the delight for joy, because in the script it says, I was daily his delight.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay.
See, that's a better way to say it, Shelley. Yeah, that's right. Because you'd say the nine descriptive attributes of the kingdom are intelligence, wisdom, and knowledge, beauty, love, and justice, foundation, power, and strength, and the product of that kingdom is peace and delight.
Yeah, and you want to say, and I mean, because we don't want to cause somebody to be confused like somebody once was, thinking that the attributes made up Elohim. No, Yahweh is the source for the attribute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but he gave you a description. It's just like you add all these ingredients to make a cake. You know what I'm saying? That's all what's in it. But the cake is the final product, or once the substance is made and it's baked and all that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know if that's a good example, but that we just we just want to say, because look, once you put all those ingredients together, and it's kind of like a liquefied, you can pour that substance into any mold and cook it, and it's gonna look like whatever, but it's all of the same substance. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is what Yahweh did in his creation. He poured himself into all these different molds, but it's all him simultaneously in the same substance.
That's right.
Gotcha. Yeah, I understand that. That's true.
You know.
I'm not saying it's true because it's just an agreement. It's just that Yahshua, I am Yahshua. So you know the truth when you hear it, when it's just Yahshua talking to Yahshua. So, yeah,
hello. Yes. Look, and we all, you know, it's like when we say Yahshua, we know that's our salvation.
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and that is actually the name he put on too when in that corporeal form. We always want to say Elohim, but yeah, that was Yahshua. You know, Elohim, the title, and that's where the title is. But it becomes a name when they're down there with the children of Israel when they resurrect that tabernacle. That's where Elohim becomes a name. But in that state up there where he puts on that in corporeal shape and form, Elohim is a title. The name is Yahshua. That is the salvation. Because that'll come up when you're dealing with some of those older ones that come up under the founder, you know? Because they'll want to say, well, is Elohim a name or Elohim is just a title? Well, no, it's both. Because he said down there in Egypt, he spelled out his, not in Egypt, but when in the wilderness, he spelled out he didn't say title, he said name, right?
Yes.
He said name, and the name was E for the eagle, L for the lion, O for the ox, and the HIM for him. You know?
Wow.
But up there in that cloud, when he put on that incorporeal body, he said, now this is his son. What was the son's name? Yahshua. And the title was Elohim. Yahweh is salvation. He is that inner being. You know? So we want to follow the speaker and understand as we speak to one another where we're at, you know?
Sorry, that was so beautiful because that's what everybody gets up on. It's trying to make those three separate when it's all Yahweh. You know, so that's why, like, it's just showing Yahweh in his different states, and they want to fight and argue about Yahshua or Elohim, title, name. It's all Yahweh.
Yep.
They don't see the unity of it, and that's why it's so hard to try to get people to, like, see it because they don't look at it as a unity.
Yes. And that's the bottom line right there, is the unity of the Spirit. You can't separate Yahweh and I remember when I was going down at 1040 when I was younger, teenage young. I used to say, "Oh, I better say all three, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahshua, because I don't want Yahweh to get jealous." And that was what it was in my mind because of the way they were teaching after the founder passed. It kind of confused me, and then until I got to over there with Dr. Glenn Kinley, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm free from that."
It's what leads you into the confusion of thinking, do I pray in your son's name, Yahshua, O Yahweh? Do I pray, O Yahweh,
yes.
Yahshua? Do I pray Yahshua to Yahweh? Like, how am I supposed to? And then you come to a true understanding and you realize you are Yahshua going unto Yahweh. That's what it means to go in the son's name to the Father. You being a son approaching your father.
Look, I'm telling you that I remember sharing that with Dad once because I said, man, I was getting kind of confused. But I knew one thing I never was confused about, that it was Yahweh was everything.
Yes.
So when all else fails, it was Yahweh to me.
Hallelujah.
When all else fails. And I was thinking I would be like 14 years. I was just like 14. And when I would be walking to the bus stop in the morning, that was my time to reflect, and think of those things that I was learning of Yahweh. And so, of course, I'd be chanting this and saying that and thinking, and that was my morning.
Can we go over, I think, Exodus 24 and then about the semicolon? I didn't get that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, take it on, Jonathan.
Let me pull this up. This is beautiful.
I heard it when I first started coming in class in 95. I've forgotten all about that.
Let me open up my share screen. I don't know if you're on the screen right now.
I wonder. I don't want to hang up. I'm on my iPhone, but to sign on to my iPad.
Well, it should show up on your iPhone because I'm on iPhone too.
Okay, I got it opened up. And down. Oh, I'm in Ezekiel 24. What am I doing? I was going over Ezekiel with somebody earlier. Exodus 24. So, right here. And it says, in Moses, this is starting at 15. It says, and Moses went up into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount, and the glory of Yahweh abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And then there's a semicolon there, right there.
Yeah.
And as I explained to my children, I said a semicolon is used when you're about to give extra information about what was said before the semicolon. It's to explain that what's coming next is an explanation of more detail about what just was said before the semicolon.
Right.
And when it says, and the seventh day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud, as I put it to the kids, I said, now does that tell you anything about what was just said about Moses being in the cloud for 6 days? And the kids are like, no. I said, well, here's where the extra explanation happens. And then we go over to Genesis 1.
Right.
And it says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. I said, now do you see? Yahweh saying, this is Moses writing about what happened in the beginning of those 6 days, where he says, in the beginning, Elohim created, and you go through Genesis 1 explaining that. But that's how you show that semicolon. That's what it's there for. And it's funny because it wasn't until the vision of Revelation was given to the founder did any man say about that.
No, that's where Genesis goes, right?
Yep. Nobody.
That was the way I was taught. Yep.
You can't find any doctrine. You can't find any exegesis on the scriptures where anyone is showing how Moses being in the cloud for 6 days is Genesis. So you can't even find anybody talking about Moses being in the cloud for 6 days. It's really interesting. That and Yahshua the son of Nun, that being Yahweh in the coat of flesh, you can't find any doctrinal teaching of that in the scriptures. So there are things where people can try to say that the founder was biting off of other people, but no. There are key tenets in this doctrine which we teach, which came by the vision of Revelation, where you cannot find any man
professing that doctrine before in history. You can't find it.
So at the sixth day, you jump back to go to the first chapter of Genesis.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pick up after that.
All of Genesis, right?
Well,
so when it says on the seventh day, where would that go then?
That's the end of the vision.
Yeah. So you all of Genesis would go there.
Oh, okay.
Well, chapter 2 onwards goes when Moses comes back up into the mount. Because after those 6 days, when he's called out of the midst of the cloud, that's where he takes the table of stone down, and they're at the golden calf, and then he comes back up, and that's where he's picked back up in the vision, and he's shown the fall, or he's shown the undertaking, the life lesson of our parents being taught to us. and the way I like showing it too is those 40 days are made with those 7 days and the other 33 days, which is Genesis chapter 2 onwards. And if you look at that, knowing that the days are showing forth that which he was going to do in the creation, and those 33 days of seeing those righteous generations, he's seeing Yahweh Elohim Yahshua walking through the 7 days, or through the righteous generation. So it's all showing Yahweh Elohim walking.
So Exodus really goes before Genesis.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, because they had to exit out of Egypt, right? To be you had to make that exit first before you can have that beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
Oh, or look, I'm always one for take it to the cloud. So Elohim had to exit out of one state into the other to transform into the creation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. I understand that.
Yeah, he had to give up that without being in that eternal state, without having on a body, to putting on a body. And once he put that body on, that was it. Everything done right there. So he exit out of one state and transform into another. Same way we do. You exit from one creation, which is the male, to the female, and then you take on shape and form for those 9 months or 40 weeks, and then you come forth into another creation, right?
Right. That's true. All right. That works for me.
Wonderfully art thou made. That's when we can say, if I didn't have a Bible, how do you prove that?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Go through that without the Bible.
We were taught the difference between this school and everybody else is we can take your Bible, your body, and the universe, and they all line up as one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Woo! The head thumper.
Hallelujah.
That's right. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
They say peace.
What do you remember or recall anything going into more depth on just the reading in Genesis 3 with after they ate of the fruit, how it says, and they knew that they were naked. Not that part though, because of course Yahweh Elohim knows he's naked. But the part of and they hid amongst the trees. Is there any more in detail that you've recall going into that you know of?
You mean that hid amongst the trees, or are we talking about covered themselves?
No, it's the same part where it says, and they made aprons for themselves, but it says, and they hid amongst the trees. And that's where it says, in the voice of Yahweh Elohim came in the cool of the garden. We know that's right in their own, within themselves.
But that's Moses
within himself.
But that's Moses expressing to those that he's speaking to how that if you have no garments on, you would think yourself to be shamed.
Yes.
Being naked like that, that's of a carnal mind. But them, to themselves, they weren't naked. They were clothed with the attributes. So it wasn't nobody there but Adam and Eve. That stuff didn't come along until, they was giving birth to offspring.
Yes. No, I'm specifically zeroed on the statement, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim amongst the trees of the garden.
Right. Like, again, I guess that was to bring out the fact that, man, what was going to be, they wouldn't talk like that. You understand what I'm saying? Just like if it's just you and your wife in the house. Now, when you start having kids, even it's not even them walking around with nothing on, is until you start teaching them you can't go outside, you can't do that around everybody. There comes a time when those things are explained.
Well, this is what I was going over. I ain't trying to be wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, got you.
I ain't trying to be mistaken this. And what I was coming to with this was, or what I was seeing with it, because I was just laying there asking show me this. And I'm watching them, watching Adam sit back and watching Eve, just in the thought, just watching Yahweh in that expression, eat of that. And what I was seeing was it being like unto a death. And this is where, and there was one statement that was I'm holding on to, making sure that it's not some ignorant sight, which is Yahweh never lost sight of himself. Like Adam never lost who he was in that whole mix. Like Yahweh never didn't know he was Yahweh in that mix.
If we allow ourselves to go with that, then that's to say that when Moses was in that state that he had negativity. It was not.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? The same time when they built that golden calf and he came to that knowledge of that is how he knew. It wasn't like as long as he was in that state, that eternal state where he saw Adam and Eve at peace, there was not, I'm trying to say, you can't be in both places at the same time, is what I'm saying. You ain't in heaven and hell at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you can't be happy and sad at the same time. When he understood why the children of Israel built that golden calf, that was when he understood about how Eve was deceived. That's all that, and that them hiding themselves, all that go together. That was not seen in that vision state.
No,
that glorified state.
I'm not trying to find. I'm not trying to find.
Yeah. No, I know, but
what I'm trying to see is that death that occurred with the eating, because that itself, like, was a. Remember, touch me not, because I've yet descended. Because I'm already up high, right? I've yet descended. So that's why he's telling the woman, touch me not, because I've yet ascended, right? So if there's a death that he's taking upon himself in that coat of flesh by consuming that fruit, what I'm seeing is when they hide themselves, and when Yahweh says, as it says, and they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim in the cool of the garden, and Yahweh says, where art thou? And it's right there within themselves, right?
We're saying, when we say them.
What I'm seeing is that Yahweh waking himself right back up. Like he took that death willingly and then woke himself right back up in the man and the woman. Yahweh never forgot who he was, but by him undertaking that death, there was that separation.
Okay, but you're talking about, but remember, you're talking about the woman. Their name called Adam, right?
Yes.
And you're saying but Adam didn't take on condemnation. Because if he'd have took that on, how he's going to remove it from her? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. She's the only one could have taken that on after not understanding when she ate of the fruit. She didn't understand what all that physical desire was about because she had descended. You know?
Yeah, because like we were talking about last time, where understanding that voice of Yahweh, Elam in the cool of the garden, that is a conversation right there within themselves, between themselves, right there.
Right there with her.
It's not like two different parties and a separate party. That's just how Moses wrote it, because understanding that it's just Yahweh right there within themselves, having a conversation.
But that's what the husband speaking to his bride.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to understand too that this was a vision. Everything was brought in for the purpose of Yahweh, for us to have that understanding and for us to follow something, because all this happened instantaneously. So he also, like, all this that's being done is going according to a purpose for us to see things as well. You know what I'm saying? For that knowledge of who he is.
But see, that's why I say that's where it comes, where Moses is telling them. You remember, this is being dictated to the scribes. Moses know good and well they were one. Mm-hmm. He knows what was happening, but he's got to show the man about the deception of himself, the carnal, how, in other words, how Cain got to be the way he got. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the condemnation in one's mind.
Yeah, that wasn't with the parents.
And that's why I couldn't grant that, seeing that, where it's like it's like how you come into the world and you don't know who you are. Not that you have any condemnation in you. You're just in an innocent state, not knowing who you are. That state is what I was seeing was the product of eating that fruit. That they came into that state, and when Yahweh spoke within them, he was waking himself back up. The same way with you. You got woken up by you speaking right there within you.
But see, that's not with Adam. That is okay. What I'm saying is, you gotta get when you're trying to go there, you're trying to go there in the garden, not realizing that is Moses' explanation for the people that he's now dealing with.
Well, that's why I couldn't grant
because
it.
We can't say Eve wasn't deceived about a damn thing and then go and say that she was confused.
Exactly, and that's why I couldn't grant seeing that, because I was holding on to the principle that, one, Yahweh never lost himself or have forgotten himself, and that was Yahweh in a coat of flesh. So at no moment could he go through a time of forgetting who he is. And that's why I was bringing up the hid themselves amongst the trees. It's like, if Yahweh never forgot who he is, what's he hiding himself amongst the trees? Is he's going along with his bride to teach his bride, who said you were naked?
But when they come out of the garden, they're already one.
Yeah.
She already know what's ahead. So Moses is just, look, him having been in the earth plane, 80 years before he had the vision, and then he tells you that a snake spoke to Eve in the garden. So he was able to pull out something from the creation that had the description of what he knew of a satanic spirit after recognizing or knowing what that fall that took place in heaven. Mm-hmm. Or in that eternal state, because he then came to understand what the angels meant when they say, woe unto the inheritance of the earth. Moses knew. He knew what he was dealing with, and when Eve brought forth or within her produced that angel that had how she remembered him as the angel of light. That's going on within her. Yahweh is allowing him to see on the cosmic screen how they got that ball to rolling. You know, because she remembered Lucifer before he fell. And then she's remembering how he fell and what happened. But all of that going on right within her, where Moses has privy during the vision to understand.
Well, Shelley, in that one thing I sent you, the video or the YouTube thing with Glenn on 6-6, he was giving that lecture on 6-6. He talked a little bit about Adam, about how Adam had to come to like understanding of who he was. Like he said that, and it was interesting that he said that because he knew, you know.
But when you say that, you got to remember he called their name Adam.
Right. So
that Adam he's talking about was the one that was drawn out, which is the woman.
When I heard it on Glenn talking about it and the founder talking about it, there was nothing for Adam and Eve to learn that they didn't already understand, and that what they did it. And he said, how could you draw the woman out of the man when she heard everything that Yahweh was saying while she was yet in him? So she already knew. But the thing is that there had to be something that was going to come about to cause what Yahweh had already predestined to happen to come forth, and that's what they did.
Well, and that's what I'm getting, is that is Yahweh, and he whatever is Yahweh's causing to operate is going to happen, you know, and that's why it's all according to his pattern and plan. By the pattern and plan, because it's all according to Yahweh's purpose. That's why we have the tabernacle. It's going in sequence, and that's how it had to come down in order for it to play out.
Correct, and that's what Glenn used to put it this way. He says, now who are you to tell Yahweh his own purpose and plan?
Right. So if something go on, you just gotta keep on going and know that there's something going on.
And the thing, if Adam knew, do you think that he would have an offspring that come forth from Eve to wind up doing what slaying his brother? That wouldn't have taken place. But all of those things I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, you finished. I was interrupting. I apologize.
Yeah, but I'm saying all of those things had to play out, just like with us. There was a time that we didn't know nothing. I mean, didn't know nothing at all. Now we know, and we did a lot of stupid things when we didn't know. But that don't mean
that right there is showing forth Jonathan's question. It's showing forth what we got to go through. See, yeah. There's a pattern and plan to everything. So that follow Adam even is to show us, heavenly things. It's for our understanding, for our benefit. It's to be able to see.
Remember, Teresa, you have to explain that to your fellow man. That's why you have to understand. Right. You have to know what you're going to say.
Yeah, like when he's saying he hid himself from the trees. Well, Yahweh hid himself in these bodies.
Right.
And we walk as trees.
Right.
I mean, those are, I don't know, sometimes.
That's beautiful right there.
It gets to be simple, and I don't make nothing complicated. Mm-hmm. I want to just see the real of it, the easy of it. Mm-hmm. But knowing all the time that if it came in pure, that's the way it's got to go out, and the only one is lost is the son of perdition, and those are those only ones that's acting up, and we recognize how they acting up, but they're not confined. I mean, they don't have a body; they're disembodied, so they're waiting on a man to get weak. The way I put it, for them to be able to enter in. And you don't have a body to invite them in. Because why? Because we've been paid with a price.
Sorry.
One of the things I want to tell you is this, is that if you look at the tape when Dr. Harris came to our school, and he said on the floor, I did say you be damned if you're Yahweh. And then he tried to explain it. But the thing is this, in order to understand his negativity in his conversation, you had to look at the whole man and his history and what he's saying and how he's marching. You have to pay attention to all of that so you wouldn't accept his junk when you recognize exactly how he came to present himself and prove to you that he was correct about what he said. That was the whole issue. But when you look at him, you look at it and pay attention to him. And we only did that because we were already warned to look for it, to look exactly what he's going to do. And he tried to justify it. And there was no justification for it. You said it wrong. You said I made a mistake. But he wouldn't do that. He would not be chastised by the Holy Spirit. And that's what a bastard instead of a son looked like.
Well, and going with what you just said, with what Shelley said, with hiding amongst the trees, right, and knowing that everyone stands as trees, right, you can actually see that as like the beginning introduction is showing how they're talking within themselves, like they undertook the eating of the fruit, and they're sitting there amongst the trees, speaking within themselves, going over everything and letting everything down. And that's what you have. You have them amongst the trees, and the voice of Elohim speaking between those two bodies to himself.
Yeah.
The position of the man and the position of the woman, and decreeing that which would be and that which was.
Look, and the reason we say hid is because the offsprings that was to come forth from them wouldn't know who they were. That had to be held in store until Pentecost, right?
Hid themselves amongst the trees. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so the offsprings would be the same trees,
trees.
Coming forth. They wouldn't know. I mean, though Abel was able to recognize who his parents was, Cain didn't. So they were hid from him, right?
I was getting ready to ask you, what about the significance of Cain and Abel? Yahshua was so good because you wrapped my head, which is already who I am, and like I said, Yahshua talking to Yahshua. So that was my next question.
Yeah. See, Abel knew, and when I say he recognized it, because he offered up a lamb. He recognized who his father was, and his mother. That was the Lamb of Yahweh. And so that's why he offered up a lamb. But whereas Cain, being of the earthly in his way of thinking, he went and got something out of the ground. And there wasn't nothing wrong with what was in the ground, but it wasn't time for that. Because Yahweh had already dealt with something out of the ground. And out of the ground was that fruit, that olive, because that was on a tree and it was of the first fruit, right? They were anointed of Yahweh. What she picked, the fruit that they ate, was that fruit that pointed out what they were, and that was anointed of Yahweh. So we already dealt with a tree grows up out of the ground. So that we already dealt with what was in the ground and the fruit. So now the next thing is the lamb being slain. Because it was those attributes that gathered up into that incorporeal shape and form that Yahweh gave you the description of: intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, beauty, love, justice, foundation, power, and strength. And then when they gathered up in that body, and in that corporeal body, then that became that lamb that was slain before the foundations of the world. And we say slain because he had to transform, which means breaking down, into every cosmic graphical structure of the universe.
So so that's why you said it wasn't nothing wrong with what Cain did, but it wasn't the right time.
Exactly.
Was it? So what time should it have been for him to offer that?
The harvest comes after the Lamb. The Lamb had to, that death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah had to happen before there was a harvesting of believers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, look, they had fruit first, right? When that's what they ate was fruit. Well, that olive was a fruit, and then now we was gonna have to eat meat. You know, when they got down there, what did he tell them? Roast that lamb. Why? Because you had to have the lamb of Yahweh in you, which was Yahweh Elohim. Everybody got that lamb in there.
And that's what makes the wheat to be harvested.
Right. And so then, and it wasn't made known until on the day of Pentecost that the man and the angel were one. Why? Because the man is an angel in a coat of flesh, and the angel was an angel in an incorporeal form with the potentiality of being able to appear as both. But we all still spirit materialized.
But that angel is Joshua in us.
Yahweh Elohim.
Right?
Yes.
Every angel is Yahweh Elohim.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Simultaneously. All at the same time. Ever present, all powerful, and all knowing. Omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent.
Every day I wait for this day. Every day I wait for this day.
Look, because we don't want to forget, we're dealing with an almighty self-existing deity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wow.
There's no physical body in there.
Hello. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I think we feasted real good today, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, like I said, every day I wait for this day. Every day is such a joy of growth and blessing. Like I said, I have no qualms about thinking, you know what, all this time I've been taught wrong. But I know Yahweh was still protecting me. But for times in present, now to this day, which is that eternal day for me.
That's a typical example of why the world is continuing. Yahweh haven't gotten everybody up yet.
Look, and I'm excited to be able to commune with those that know, too.
Mm-hmm.
Man, because it's something to be by yourself and not have nobody to talk to about it.
Well, you know, it feels like I'm a gardener, so you guys already know that. We take a lot of pride in our garden, and it's because of the nutrients that comes from the soil to everything we grow. You have bad soil, you won't have good fruit.
Right.
And when you get, like, I'm gonna go. I know we're getting ready to go, but I want to address. I think something you said, Shirley, some time ago about teaching in the cloud down. Why some classes, when they take that pointer, they start in the court roundabout and work their way up. That I don't know why it didn't hit me that's wrong. You teach from head down.
Right.
Unless I'm screwed up. Yeah. So you know, I wanted to go over that next week in the consummation to understand what that is how that is on the chart. I think the 40-foot chart or just the Abraham chart. But yeah, I want to go over those.
Right.
That baby's head is formed first in the womb.
Exactly what I was going to say. If you look
at
it.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, you know, the simple way when I first came in, the first thing they tell you, you eat something, you got to put it in your mouth first for it to go down into that intestinal tract. Then they started teaching me from there. But you got to have something as the die, a sacrifice that you consume, you take in, and then go down. And that was the way I was taught. I don't understand how they just assume to teach it the way they do. You know.
Wow.
But
I think a lot of that teaching goes that they just don't want to be corrected, Shirley. They just cannot tell you I made a mistake.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, look, I'm glad and grateful we're not that way. I'll be the first to tell you I made a mistake or it ain't like that. And if I'm corrected, hey, that's the blessing of Yahweh to be able to receive that.
And that's the humbleness of the ones, the true ones, because the humbleness and being able to be corrected and to be able to, be able to have that correction and be okay with it and enjoying being corrected.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I enjoy the fact that I could go through something with a group of family and have someone be able to be like, hey, Jonathan, just to correct you on that, so that I enjoy you can't. That makes you stronger. It builds you up. It builds you up. And it's like that is a blessing to have.
I love you guys.
Yes, I love you as well, because there was a time when I had no one that I could talk to, even being in class. The boys, I guess they thought I was really hard, but I couldn't say much in the class because it would just be confusion, and then I wouldn't say a lot of things because I didn't want and I don't want them running to Dad and them having to say some stuff, that I know he would teach me or had taught, just to keep peace. But it's over with that. You got to tell it like it is, let the chips fall where they may, because Yahweh will come and see you about that. Like he did. Look, I don't want to be like Saul on the Isle of Patmos, where Yahweh had aught with him because he was sitting down there just letting them say whatever and not correcting it, So, yeah, and we will that none should be lost. You want everybody. We all want to be on the same page, understanding the same thing at the same time.
That's right.
In the same way, giving that glory to Yahweh. Look, better make sure we say it that way, because we don't want to be on the same page with some satanic crap.
Exactly.
which we wouldn't. But with that being said, if somebody else don't have anything else to add, we can close.
Oh, do we have to?
Renard chimed in. You got something, Renard?
No. I just want to say hallelujah.
Okay. Now unto him who is able to keep you from falling, to present you faultless before the presence of his glory, with exceeding delight, to the only wise Elohim, our Savior, Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, belongs glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and forever. Let us all say, hallelujah. I love you. And thanks for showing up. Yep.
All right.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys too. All right.